Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today, I have a special story. I'm so excited for you to meet Sarah and Jeff Linder. And such the topic right now, especially under COVID, is we're all living together and relationships and how is that all working? And we're excited to talk a little bit about that. And they're going to have some great tips for us how to do that. I want to say effectively, because sometimes it is, we just have to effectively do that and communicate well with each other and all the stuff that we're going to talk about. So this is going to be a exceptionally practical interview, because I want us all to be succeeding in our marriages and our relationships, because if that's not going well, your family's not going to go well, your kids are going to pick up on it, you're not going to do well at your job and all of those things. So super important. So if you have somebody who is not watching that you're thinking, oh my goodness, I need them to really get some tips because they're struggling in their relationship, and then share this. Be sure, we would love for you to share this with people. And I also would love for you to comment below as you have questions, as you're thinking, oh, I wonder, I hadn't thought about this or that. If you would comment, tell us you're on. We would love to talk to you about that as well. So welcome, Sarah and Jeff. So glad to have you guys on with us today, and share a little bit. Why don't we start with you guys? I know you've been coming to the Met for quite a long time. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been at the Met, and maybe a little bit about your family, how long you've been married, and just a little bit about that kind of stuff.
You want to start?
Well, yeah, we've been with the Met, at the Met about 9 or 10 years. We talk about it and we never are quite sure, because I just don't do the mental math very well. We were non-committal, not active, but regular attendees for probably half that time. And we finally decided that it was time to make a change. And Sarah actually did that first. I'll give her props for that. And we have had a remarkable 4 or 5 years since then, getting to know staff and having so many other friends at church and in life group. And it's just become really who our friends are and the things that we do, and the opportunity to get to serve together and help out at the church has just been fantastic for us.
Yeah.
So we have 2 adult daughters. McKenna is 24, she's almost 25, and Edie is going to be 22 in just a couple of weeks. So we're empty nesters, and we're learning what that means to the fullest. Love it. We just built our forever home, and I think on the 6th of this month, September, yes, will be 3 months. And we didn't know we were going to be empty nesters until about a month before we got to close. So Edie pulled a switcheroo on us and moved in with Sabrina, and so date night is every night, and we're having a wonderful time in this house.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll have been married 26 years
yes.
in January, next January.
Yes.
So.
Well, I know y'all's story, but I would love for you, because I think sometimes people tune in and go, oh, look at those couples, aren't they cute? And they have everything together. And yeah, we're like, I don't want that to be what we talk about today, because it's not real life. I would love for you guys to share, hey, here's some things we've struggled with. Here's some, tips we've learned along the way. You guys have been married a long time. And I don't want to say you're the experts at this, because you would say, and we've messed up and figured out what not to do. I know you guys. So tell us a little bit about your journey in marriage and what that's been like for you guys.
I think I'm going to let Jeff start. He's pretty good at articulating how it all got bumpy.
Well, I'm going to say that obviously the Lord has blessed us in so many ways from the very beginning of our lives. Obviously, come with great families, Christian homes, a lot of love. Our parents are still together. Most of our family couples are still together, which is remarkable in this day and age. That doesn't mean it's easy. And one of the things that I praise God for is He never allowed us both to want to leave at the same time. Because there was times when she was done, there was times when I was done, and that's just the way it is. We began, I guess the last time around, it was 4 or 5 years ago. It was probably about the time, that first half of our time at the Met, we were struggling. We knew it was important to be in church, but our relationship with the Lord individually and our relationship with each other was not what it should be. And it's really difficult to have a relationship with each other if you're not right with the Lord, because your priorities just get messed up. The grace that you need to extend is not there, and it makes it difficult to do those things. But Sarah had begun to get more and more into the Word, whereas I was still not yet. And I had invented a bunch of things in my head and decided that I was miserable, and finally told her, I said, I don't know if I want to stay in this or not, but leaving scares me to death. And telling her that absolutely scared me to death, because I thought I was going to lose the control that I felt like I had over my destiny. Love my girls dearly, couldn't imagine not being with them, all those things. And through that, I saw Sarah's strength in the Lord, and I began to see her in a way that I'd never seen her before. And I began to see God in a way I'd never seen God before. There was things that I never doubted God as a whole, but I think that I doubted God in my life. And once I saw a change of heart in her and realized that she and everybody else that was involved had done everything they could to help me, I realized that I was the last problem, and I just needed to throw away everything that I was holding on to. And at that moment, it's almost like I was saved again. I wouldn't take it to that granted, but that's the first time that I ever really experienced God. I had come to Christ at a young age, 7, 8 years old, something like that. So you begin to take all that stuff for granted. So it's my second rebirth, so to speak. And ever since then, things have been really good. Not to say that I don't do things wrong every once in a while, but we do our best.
Two people living together with different background, there's just always going to be a rift, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I've had several calls since COVID, and that's one reason I really wanted to talk to you guys. Several calls from people who are saying, we're really struggling. Here's what, can you talk to us? What do you think we should do? And I know when you're in the middle of it, and if you guys can think back to that moment, it really seems like it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say to those people who are saying, I'm done, I just can't do it? Do you have some guidance or hope for them?
Well, for me, and being the receiver of him saying to me, I think we were working in the backyard.
Yeah.
We were doing yard work, and I was bringing something to him, and he answered me in a way that made me think, something's not right. And so I remember asking him, are you okay? And he said, actually, no, I'm not. And that's when he said to me, I don't know that I want to be married anymore. And I was really kind of shocked, but I don't know why I was shocked. Maybe just to hear it spoken out is what really kind of shook me to my core. But I remember a conversation in specific. We were, interestingly enough, we were in our master closet at the end of our bathroom, getting ready or wrapping up the day or whatever. And I remember we were engaged in a conversation, and I was upset and crying. I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was something to do with our marriage, obviously. And I remember thinking to myself, and then able to tell him later, that I was not having a conversation with my husband. I was having a conversation with the enemy. What he was saying to me were things that I would never have expected to hear come out of my husband's mouth, about our marriage, and it wasn't directed at me, but it was breaking my heart as he said it, because that's not the story that I had written in my mind as a little girl about what marriage and family and parenthood was going to be like. But from that moment on, I realized, now I'm guilty of the same thing. There was a time before this, like Jeff said earlier, praise God that we were not both done at the same time. But he is able, and I feel positive and absolutely sure that he would have fixed that too. Yeah. But I'm guilty of having those same feelings too, but before Jeff's turn, I guess. But that was a turning point for me, because I began to start thinking about when it was me that was giving out that information of being unhappy or not wanting to do this anymore and making up excuses about why it was okay for me to feel that way and justifying, well, if I move forward with this, then I would be able to do this, me kind of thing. Totally not including him, absolutely not being prayerful about it, and picking and choosing what parts of scripture felt good in that moment because I was hurt. But from that moment on, when I realized in that conversation, this is not my husband, this is the enemy speaking, my prayers changed. And I just began to, I just literally just stepped into the faith that I'd always heard about, but I wasn't always actually practicing in my own life. And I began to realize what it meant to lead by example. And I just kept praying, I don't know how to do this. Give him a heart for what you're asking me to do and how you're asking me to be the example in this. I absolutely couldn't have done it on my own. I began to dig deeper into the word. God gave me a passion for, and not just reading his word, but understanding in context what scripture meant and how to use that and how to apply that in my life. And I began to find ways, and through time spent with the Lord and in prayer, he began to speak to me. Hey, this is how I need you to walk through this. I need you to be this and do this and live this so that I can work in and through and on Jeff so that he can see what this is really supposed to be like and what I want to do for you in your marriage.
And I think sometimes it gets a little bit difficult and we think, oh, it's not supposed to be this hard, so it's not meant to be.
Right.
And sometimes God is equipping us or challenging us, or like you were saying, Jeff, preparing us to see something in our faith we've never seen before if we'll hang in. So what I love about your story is because of, and that was a nutshell, and I know there's a whole lot more, but
That's enough.
Yeah.
you're like, it's like, I don't want to tell anymore. No,
Yeah, no, we're good with that.
I know y'all are open about it. But what I wanted to say too, because of that, you guys have used that and y'all are so excited about pouring into other couples and helping other marriages. And you guys are going to lead our dynamic marriage that's coming up. And I know you've done it before in the past. So talk a little bit about that, what that's helped you in your marriage and you've seen in other couples as well.
What I love about it is having been married this long, you kind of get this sense of, yeah, we kind of got this figured out, you know. And so we went and were trained as facilitators and then have led the courses as well before. And the beauty of it, I think, too, is that each time we facilitate, we also are doing the course with the group. We're not the experts. We are not counselors. We are not, diagnosticians in any way, shape, or form, but we are participating with each group. And we learn so much from it every time. We've got some notes that we're going to kind of go through together, just about a couple of things that stood out to each of us as we've led in the past.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's three things that we'll talk about, try to hit them as high points. But one is, and I think this is important, there's an overarching part of this. We can talk about different things you should do or things you should know or ways to think about it. But those are, if you don't have your heart right, they're lipstick on a pig. It's good ideas, but it's not really gonna stick very well if your heart's not right. So Ephesians 5:33 is a really good overarching verse, and it says, "Nevertheless, let each one of you in particular so love his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband." I think that once we figured out in our marriage what our roles were and how we helped each other out, and that it wasn't what I can get or what she can get, it's what we're doing together. And our roles now are very traditional. There was a time when we both worked. She does not work now out of the home. She's very busy, and a lot of it is taking care of family and serving at church and other things. And I'm honored to be able to support her in that. I take a lot of joy in that. And she takes care of me. And so we're seeing how I love and honor and respect and cherish her. She respects and loves me. And we work together on that. And I got to tell you, once you finally figure it out, you're like, this is a sweet spot. This is really good. I didn't think it would ever feel this way after so many years of it not.
Yeah.
So real quickly, one of the items is a love tank. Oh, we've probably heard this before. Everybody's got a love tank. Sometimes it's empty, sometimes it's full. Usually is it probably around 3/8 of a tank, something like that. It's a little on the low side if you're not careful. One of the things that can really suck the love tank dry is what dynamic marriage calls love busters. These are things that you may do knowingly, hopefully not. You might most likely do unknowingly, but they can be damaging because it really bothers your spouse. Some of those things may be selfish demands, disrespectful judgments, things you say under your breath or right directly to your spouse that might offend them or embarrass them in some way. Obviously, angry outbursts are going to bother people. Okay, I mean, nobody likes that. Dishonesty is an issue. Certain annoying habits. I'm sure I don't have any annoying habits.
None whatsoever.
Anything we're going to bring up here? No? Okay. And independent behavior. But 3 of those things in this COVID time that we're in, especially people being kind of crammed into a house together for a lot longer than they intended to be. Annoying habits, boy, those things are great on you in a hurry if you're stuck together. Independent behavior. No, I'm going here and doing this, or you just come and find me when you're ready. I'm just kind of going to go try to play solo for a little bit. And as everybody gets a little bit hot under the collar, the angry outbursts are more likely to happen. And it's even more difficult because after something like that happens, everybody's still stuck together. So that can be difficult sometimes. Sure.
So also one of the things that I really loved was what dynamic marriage refers to as a marriage cycle. And it talks about how couples move forward and backwards in a cycle in all 3 of these positions. And none of them are a bad position to be in, but it's all 3 of them. And it's really dependent upon how you function within those cycles. And it's dependent upon how well or how poorly you're meeting each other's needs. There's a state of intimacy, which is part of that cycle. It's avoiding where you are avoiding causing unnecessary happiness for each other. Then there's a state of conflict where none of each other's needs are being met. And then there's a state of withdrawal. And that has a certain negative connotation to it, which initially when I first read about it, I thought, oh gosh, okay, that's where we've been. That's where it's over, but it's not necessarily that. And so I really enjoyed learning about that. But in that state of withdrawal, that is when one or the other or both spouses have pushed away from the marriage or have pushed one or the other out or built walls, whatever it may look like. But marriages cycle through all 3 of those states all the time. And when I learned that, I thought, okay, maybe we're not broken. And I thought it was really interesting that the most healthy marriages cycle from states of intimacy. Then you go into conflict because you're going to disagree. You're going to have things where like, well, I don't want that for dinner, simple like that, or major purchases, or how do we handle adult children, or whatever it may be. And then, but the important thing is we all tend to want to pull away, and we all cycle into that state of withdrawal. But we can also then make choices that will then pull us back into that state of conflict. But when you move back into conflict from withdrawal, it gets really, really difficult, and it gets really, conversations get tough. But it's important to do that, because without that conversation, you can't move fluidly and that communication through those different cycles. And so we were kind of talking about that in terms of COVID and being in the house for weeks and months, some of us for this whole time, that it's just respect, I think, is what we decided was kind of our overarching theme with this, is that if you don't have the respect for each other,
Mhm.
it's impossible to then have those conversations
Mhm.
and make those commitments to pull yourselves out of a withdrawal state, to have those tough conversations. And some of them, I mean, I can remember, I could go on and on. I mean, just really, really uncomfortable, but you've got to move through the hard parts in order to get back to an intimacy level with each
Yeah.
other, emotionally, mentally, and physically.
Yep. I agree.
So,
What do you guys think about what is different about dynamic marriage than maybe any, you just take a marriage class, because it's different in a good way of you really are practical. You're not just hearing information, you practice it. Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that and when the class starts for people who want to sign up, and we'll put all the links below.
oh, sure.
Okay.
Well, it's not a sit and get. It's
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And people say, "Oh, it's a Bible study on marriage." No, it's not really a Bible study on marriage. It's the very first thing that the course is designed to do, that they really, really spend a lot of time with us as facilitators learning to do, is setting up an environment of confidentiality and in an environment where you're comfortable with each other as spouses, within a marriage, but within the room and with the other couples that are there, without saying too much, because they also taught us not to say too much about how the class looks and feels. That is the key, I think, to the success of the class, that as a group, and certainly within the marriages. There's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of vulnerability. And vulnerability, I think, comes out of that respect for each other as spouses. But nothing is ever discussed in the group that you and your spouse have not agreed upon as a safe share or something. There's no surprises, but you agree together about what you're going to share about. So we are going to be facilitating in the next couple of weeks. I believe we start on the 27th. 27th?
20X?
Yes. Can you confirm that, Mary?
I don't have my calendar, but yes, it's going to be on Sunday night, right? So,
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Sunday night.
and what time? I'm looking on the calendar so I can tell you for sure. Yes, 27th.
Yes. 27th. I believe is it 5:30 to 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
And childcare is available if you sign up in advance. And I just, of all the classes that we've done, I always tell people this is the one to do for your marriage. It's great doing Bible study, and all of these other things, I love it. I'm a Bible study major, but if your marriage is not going well and you don't have the tools, and maybe people weren't raised with parents, even y'all had parents who were married and worked it out, which I did too. We didn't always learn the practical skills that we need to be able to thrive, and lots of outside influences, kids, stresses, jobs, that we need to learn how to be in a good time, but also healthily when we're not in a good time. How do we get back to that? So I love that you guys have a heart for this, and literally it's a labor of love to walk alongside couples. And whether you're in a good place, some people who come are just like, hey, we're in a good place. We want to be sure we stay in a good place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And, or, you know what, one of them feels a little disconnected of trying to bring the other person along. So if anybody is listening and you are just thinking, hey, my marriage is really important to me, this is just the perfect place for you. So leave a comment below. Let me or Sarah, Jeff know. We'll be glad to help connect you and get you registered and connected. You will not regret it at all. It will be one of the best things that you will have ever done for your marriage. And we talk a lot about counseling, super expensive. So this is a great investment on saving lots of money in counseling, although I love counseling. It's not that. I just counseling is a good thing, but this is a good thing to help you. People say, I remember when we went to the leadership training, you guys, they were saying people who have done dynamic marriage are leaps and bounds ahead of people who haven't. And they are ready to even work better on their marriage because of the information that they've learned. So,
and while we were getting ready to tag on what you just said, I came across another statistic where it talked about couples that had done New Beginnings or dynamic marriage. The divorce rate was like 5%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a great, I highly recommend it.
and I think too, sometimes having Derek and I, because we're empty nesters too, we're always looking on things to be working on together.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, it's hard. You know, I'm not going to work out like he works out, or he's not going to do some of the things that I do. But here we can work on our marriage together. That's a commitment that, you know, we can all make. So,
And this is different enough. It's not like any other marriage seminar that you've done before. It's different enough, and it's great. We really
I will
love
say one thing, because I know a lot of guys are listening who are going to be going, I'm going to be elbowed the whole time. One thing I love about this is you are never allowed to say something
No.
bad about your spouse.
There's
No
no
spouse
spouse
bashing.
bashing at all. And those in that first, we do a pre-session, but in that first pre-session, that's where everything is laid out about, you know, what is this going to look like? What am I going to
All
be
the ground
doing? What are
rules,
the
yeah.
ground rules?
Yeah.
You know, how does this look? Am I going to be able to do this kind of thing? And it's you just gotta make a commitment and stick with it. It's great.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks for being with us. And I look
Thanks for
forward. I
having us.
can't wait to hear how this class goes and all the great marriages that are going to be saved. So thank you all for
Thank you.
sharing your life with us and with everybody. See you guys around the mat.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.